You look at the night sky and you see a static, timeless void. You see emptiness. You see a permanent stage upon which the cosmic drama unfolds. A fixed, distant background. This is wrong. You look at a galaxy, a billion light years away, and you think you are seeing it as it was. You think the space between you and that light is inert, passive, a mere container for its journey. This is also wrong. You hear the phrase, expanding universe, and you picture an explosion. You see galaxies flying outward from some central point like shrapnel from a bomb, racing through space. You imagine this requires a center, an origin, a place you could point to and say, it all started there. Every single piece of this mental picture is not just slightly off. It is fundamentally, catastrophically wrong. And this mistake isn't yours alone. It is the most stubborn intuition our species has ever confronted. It is the intuition that space itself is a thing, a fixed, absolute grid. It is the intuition that things happen in space, but space itself does not do anything. To understand what is really happening, you must do something far more difficult than learning a new fact. You must unlearn how you see the world. You must shatter the very framework of your intuition. And then you must build a new one from the ashes of the old. This is not a story about things moving. It is a story about nothingness becoming something. It is a story where the emptiness itself is the main character. You have seen the image 1,000 times. A dense, hot, bright point. A sudden, violent flash. Then, fragments, speeding outward in all directions. A chaotic, expanding cloud of debris. The shrapnel flies through the void, racing away from the site of the cataclysm. This is the mental model you have been given. This is the cartoon that lives in your mind when you hear the words, Big Bang. It is clean. It is intuitive. It is powerfully, seductively wrong. And it begins with a genuine observation, seen through the lens of a perfectly reasonable mistake. In the 1920s, Edwin Hubble sat at the eyepiece of the Great Hooker telescope and noticed something peculiar about the light from distant galaxies. The light was shifted toward the red end of the spectrum. A redshift. Your brain, trained by everyday experience, knows what this means. You hear a siren approaching. It's pitch high and sharp. As it passes and recedes, the pitch drops, deepening. This is the Doppler effect. The motion of the source through a medium, sound through air, compresses or stretches the waves. So you apply the model. If a galaxy's light is redshifted, it must be moving away from us. And Hubble found a correlation. The farther away the galaxy, the greater its redshift. The greater, therefore, its apparent speed of recession. The conclusion seems inescapable. Everything is flying away from everything else. We are witnessing the aftermath of a primordial explosion. We are seeing the shrapnel. This is the ghost in the data. It is the intuition that inserts itself between the measurement and the meaning. The redshift is real. The correlation with distance is real. But the interpretation, the picture of galaxies rocketing through static space like debris from a bomb, is a phantom. It is your classical mind trying to force a cosmic phenomenon into a terrestrial box. The error is not in the logic, but in the assumption. The silent, invisible assumption that space is a fixed stage. That it is the passive arena in which this fleeing occurs. That the galaxies are moving through something. Hold on to that feeling. That clear, cinematic picture of the exploding bomb. Because to understand what is really happening, you must first see that picture for what it is. A compelling, beautiful, and utterly bankrupt fiction. We are not watching things move through space. We are watching space itself become more. So if they are not flying through space, what is happening? To even begin to approach the answer, you must perform a quiet, brutal act of intellectual violence. You must erase your definition of space. For all of human history, space was understood as emptiness, a void, a coordinate grid, absolute and fixed, against which motion could be measured. Newton enshrined this. It was the stage. Matter was the actor. The stage did not change, it merely was. Einstein killed that idea, not with a bang, but with a slow, relentless redefinition. In his theory of general relativity, space and time were woven together into a single entity, space-time. And this space-time was not a stage. It was a dynamic, malleable participant. Matter and energy told space-time how to curve. Space-time, in turn, told matter how to move. But here is where the intuition lags. We hear curvature, and we think of a rubber sheet bent by a heavy ball. We think of a fabric. This is useful, but it is also a trap, because a fabric is a thing within a space. It exists in a larger container. Space-time is not in a container. It is the container. There is no outside to bend into. So we need a different property, not just curvature, but scale. Imagine the surface of a balloon, not the rubber, not the material, just the two-dimensional surface itself, a perfectly flat mathematical plane. Now imagine that this surface is uniformly, everywhere stretching. Every point on that surface is moving away from every other point. There is no explosion at the center of the surface. There is no center on the surface at all. The expansion is a property of the surface itself. This is the closest analogy we have. The galaxies are like coins glued to that balloon's surface. As you inflate it, each coin sees every other coin moving away. A coin does not move across the surface. It is carried by the stretching of the surface itself. Now, immediately, you must discard half of this analogy to save the other half. Discard the idea that the balloon is expanding into the air around it. There is no air. There is no third dimension for it to expand into. In our universe, we are talking about all three dimensions of space behaving like that two-dimensional surface. Every direction, up, down, left, right, forward, backward is stretching. What does it mean for a dimension to stretch? It does not mean something is being pulled. It means the definition of a meter or a light year is changing. The ruler itself is growing. If you could freeze time and lay down a perfect, rigid ruler to measure the distance between two unbound points in space, and then you let time start again, you would find that later, the ruler still shows 1 meter. But the distance it once fit perfectly now exceeds its length. Not because the points moved, but because the meaning of the interval between them changed. Space is not a fabric being stretched. A fabric is made of stuff. Space is not made of anything. It is a set of relationships, a geometry, and that geometry is capable of a terrifyingly simple property. It can have a scale factor that increases with time. The stage is not static. The stage is growing, and the actors on it are not fleeing. They are being passively, inexorably separated by the growth of the floor beneath their feet. This is the first fragile glimpse of the truth. The universe is not exploding in space. The universe, all of space itself, is what is doing the expanding. This new picture of a stretching space brings with it a profound and unsettling consequence. It annihilates the two most fundamental concepts of location, the center and the edge. Think back to the explosion. Every explosion has a center, a point of origin from which the debris flies outward. It has an edge, a boundary between the expanding material and the empty space beyond it. Your intuition clings to these. It demands them. Now, apply that demand to the stretching balloon surface. Find the center of the expansion on the surface. Not inside the balloon, not in the air it's filling. On the two-dimensional realm where the coins live. Can you point to it? You cannot. From the perspective of any single coin, every other coin is moving away. There is no special point that is stationary from which the expansion radiates. Every point has the same, perfectly symmetric view. Every point sees itself as the still center of a fleeing cosmos. This is not a paradox. It is the geometric truth of uniform expansion. If every point can view itself as the center, then no point is the center. Now, take the next step. Find the edge of the balloon's surface. Where does it stop? For a balloon, the edge is the boundary of the rubber, the lip where it meets the air. But that edge exists because the balloon is a finite object embedded in a higher dimension. Our universe, all of space, is not embedded in anything we can perceive or measure. We have no evidence of a higher, dimensional, outside, for it to have a boundary in. So we are left with two possibilities, both of which erase the intuitive edge. First possibility, space is infinite. It goes on forever. An infinite, stretching expanse. There is no edge, by definition. You can travel forever in any direction, and you will never hit a cosmic wall. Only more and more space, with the scale factor steadily increasing everywhere. The idea of where the Big Bang happened in this infinite space then undergoes a terrifying inversion. It did not happen somewhere. It happened everywhere. Every single point in this infinite universe. The space you occupy right now, the space between galaxies a billion light years away, was at the moment we call the Big Bang unimaginably dense and hot, not because everything was squeezed into one point in space, but because space itself, all of it, everywhere, was compressed to an infinitesimal scale. The entire infinite universe was a scorching, dense soup. The expansion is not stuff flying into virgin emptiness.